Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Accuracy in America, brought to you by Accuracy in Academia, I should say. I'm your host, Don Irvine, joined by my co-host, Brian McNichol.
Hello, deplorables, dregs, despicables, chumps, Neanderthals, semi-fascists, maggots, and of course those dog-faced phony soldiers.
Of course, of course. This has been a very wet week.
Man, it really has. We're supposed to get like a third of the rain for the month in the next 2 days, or the last 2 days, whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, my wife says she she kind of feels that in her joints, and
Yeah,
when the weather gets like this, and it's just it's so gloomy. I can understand why people who've got depression or border on that, it's hard. These are hard for days for them. It's so gray and everything like that. It's hard.
Yeah, it is. And like so I got a thing from the school a little bit ago that said Marty's absent. Usually it's like either Marty was 5 minutes late or sometimes he's in one class and they keep him and he doesn't make it to the next class and you get an absent note, right? So, but I told him, like, please tell me you are not skipping school today. I mean, at least you would wait for like a sunny day where you could go outside and have some fun. So I suspect Marty couldn't make it from one class to the next today. I hope he's not out skipping school in this.
Yeah, but invariably with the odds are there are going to be a certain percentage of kids that will choose days that are rainy like this and just dreary, and they'll skip school. And it's like, these are like the worst days. You might as well. Yeah. You're going to be inside anyway.
Going in there now,
Yeah, just do it. I mean, I'm not advocating skipping school, but if you're going to do it on a nice day so you can have some fun.
Yeah. I hear you.
I know that temptation was real when I was younger, but yeah, I don't know. I don't hear much about truancy and things like that, not like I used to. And sounds like they're more. They have so many ways of tracking.
Yeah, Shreveport. This is the time of year. Shreveport is really good. Yeah. Hasn't gotten hot yet. It's not cold anymore. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm just saying that it sounds like school systems have ways of really kind of tracking the kids, so that they really do know where they are.
It's a security issue too. I mean, I get it.
Yeah. No, I mean, hopefully the parents are on board with that, because you want to know that your kids are where they're supposed to be.
But it's kind of automated to a degree that you get a lot of false positives, right? Yeah. Like you're 1 minute late to a class, the teacher doesn't see you, and he's been at classes on time, and they marked him absent, right? So I mean, sometimes it just happens.
Yeah. See if they had an implantable chip, just kind of scan it as they go into class.
Yeah.
It could be coming someday.
Yeah, he can skip school a little bit. That's better than a plant is.
How about AI that that knows who the kids are in the class and just automatically kind of does can see the classroom and boom and stuff. I mean, I really do think that, I don't know. I mean, I'm still trying to get my hands around the whole AI thing, but I do see that it's just going to become a bigger and bigger part of everybody's lives. Maybe not the way we want it to be, and maybe not always positively, but it's there. And
it's there and it's coming. We're not putting the genie back in the bottle. That's for sure.
Yeah. I don't I don't know where you draw the line necessarily on that is, but I'm sure I actually have some thoughts about that maybe later if we have time. So I'm going to say Ukraine sent a drone into Russia and struck a refinery and a factory. I think Russia says about 12 students were injured. That was like the deepest strike they've had. Apparently that factory or that area is also known for making the drones that the Russians have used to attack Ukraine. So Ukraine is still they're still kicking.
They're still kicking, and I think when the history of all this is written, Ukraine is going to be credited with some of the advances in how to use drones in warfare. It's been one of their best aspects of their war effort is their use of drones. They've gotten into Russia, kind of shown what can be done with them.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how much drones have become this tool used by military forces around the world to do things that where you would normally have to send in planes or do other things, and you don't have you can do this from a remote location, right? You have a trained drone pilot in essence, and they're there zeroing in on these targets, and then voila. Tends to be more accurate, than sending a plane with a bomb in there. But it's just
no risk to the attacker, right? You're hurting equipment, you're not hurting people,
right? You're taking out a piece of equipment, not people. If
it's hard to defend, it's right on you before you know it's there.
Yeah, so, it does tend to, somehow kind of fly because it's smaller. That tends to fly under the radar. But I don't want people to think that the drones are the kind of drones you buy at Costco or something like that. These are
weapons, and they're going to require like innovation and how to counter them too.
Right. I mean, yeah, right. And so these drones carry bombs basically. I mean, they're basically targeting. They go in there, and so I mean they're bigger. They're a heck of a lot smaller, obviously, in an airplane, but they are pieces of sophisticated equipment that do require trained pilots behind them to make sure that they stay on their flight path and stay on target. So this is not some backyard enthusiast that's got a camera on his drone and is trying to fly around and get these overhead pictures of things, which can be fascinating, but not the same thing, and not the same as Amazon and trying to deliver some light package to your doorstep, which I don't know I know these are an aside. I really don't know if they'll, are they really ever going to perfect that? It just seems that trying to take a package and send it from one location to another seems hard, and food delivery even harder. I mean, it's like you can get it there, but is your food going to arrive in worse shape than it would than if you had DoorDash or Uber?
Well, I'll tell you what, like George Mason, the people who live on the campus, almost all the food delivery is robots, right? They make a big deal out of it to promote the robotics on the campus and whatnot. But yeah, like I used to, you're walking on the sidewalk and you'll see a little robot go by with a pizza. It's like going on all the time. So yeah, it's interesting to see.
Yeah, it's just I'm still, once again, just like a lot of things.
I mean, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of DoorDash customers in a very small place. So you can make it work, and you can control the roads that it goes on. Right, it's all state maintained, college campus quality sidewalks and so forth. Can you do it like down? I used to live down the Route 1 corridor. Half the time you'd be walking on a sidewalk and the sidewalk just stops, and then you're walking through dirt for 100 yards, and then it's back to the sidewalk, and the sidewalk's crooked and all that stuff. So, that's
oh man,
let's just go for it, get her done. But yeah, that's there's a point to be made there that we're doing some stuff now that. Just we're talking about the drones and how it's used in warfare and stuff. We don't really have the counteract for it yet. So if it can't be counteracted, it can be used, against us. But the things that we think are keeping us safe are not necessarily keeping us safe.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I saw that one, I mean, John, thank you for reminding me of the War of the Worlds. I guess it was the movie with Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
and everything else. Yeah, EMP, and then I mean, Newt Gingrich wrote a book about that, right? About EMPs and stuff like that. But you're right. I mean, I think it can work at George Mason because it's basically in a confined space. It's almost right. I would say it's like geofenced. It's basically confined to an area, and they mapped that out. They figured this out. And so it's, it knows, its limitations and all that. The students are now getting used to it, and that's fine. Waymo, which operates these, driverless taxis in Phoenix and Mesa areas, similar kind of thing. I mean, for the most part, they have been kept to certain roads, and everything like that. They can only travel on certain roads in a certain area, and that's the one they mapped out. They have expanded a little bit because the one thing they haven't been able to do is take people to the airport, because that requires getting on the highway. And that's a whole different ball of wax if there's no driver behind it. There is somebody supposedly kind of watching over this from a central control center, I think. But you're now putting this driverless thing. What was
one guy driving 50 cars.
Yeah,
what could go wrong?
I don't know. Did you ever watch the movie? What was it? Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone, and it was this futuristic thing where they were basically in these ships and taxis that were just at all levels. They're going to go in all kinds of places and stuff like that. There were no real roads, but there was and I think you've seen iterations of Judge Dredd over the years of this futuristic world. Yeah. Much more advanced than the Jetsons, where people are flying around doing that. But
yeah, I've always thought about the Jetsons. It's like, I was like, oh, well, we didn't really achieve that. We don't really have the flying cars, but it's like, okay, how would that have worked exactly? You know what I mean?
Yeah, something though. The funny thing is that when you said that, when we even say flying cars, I had a young returned missionary kid who, after he went home after his missionary service, his first internship was in San Francisco at a startup that was kind of into that. They were trying to figure out how to do something like that, like a flying taxi or whatever. That is really, to me, pie in the sky type of thing. That requires so much. I mean, we've had this drone revolution with enthusiasts who want drones. Now, because there were so many and people didn't know how to operate them or crashing them into trees, and they have to pay like a $5 registration and get them registered with the FAA. I mean, I live right by an air park. It has several thousand takeoffs and landings a year. I am pretty sure that if I wanted to fly a drone, I'm not sure I could fly it, around here, around my neighborhood. I would probably have to take it out of this zone. There's probably, it's probably a buffer, because there are airplanes. I mean, I get plenty of airplanes that come, that fly way overhead that are coming and going out of that air park. And even though the drones aren't going to go as high as an airplane per se, the fact that there's objects in the sky would still be something that you don't want anywhere in any kind of airspace. Right. So it probably has to be out of that. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting things there. But this whole thing about John, EMP, hit a button and go.
Yeah.
That John, what was that? Do you want to take us off the air?
Yeah. Well, get these joints thrown away.
Too. Yeah, right. I mean, can you imagine? Okay, just can you imagine the utter chaos for people? I mean, how many people would freak out if they lost their connections to their phones and everything?
Right. I don't know about you, but I was 32 years old before I ever had a cell phone.
Yeah, I don't even remember. I remember having kind of a brick phone, and I thought that was kind of cool. I remember seeing one in a salesman's car when he was working with them on direct mail and stuff like that, and took me out to their printing plant and whatever they were using and stuff like that. And he had a cell phone in his car, and I'm like, wow, I haven't seen one of those before. So I saw a few people have those kind of brick phones, and you think like, wow, that was pretty, and we've got them down to this, or if you're carrying, or if you've got a foldable phone, that type of thing. It's amazing what they do. But people freak out when they can't get to Facebook or Instagram or Twitter X, so those are going to be like network outages that are generally, because AWS, has gone down or had a problem or whatever, some cloud server's gone down. But I mean, can you imagine a nationwide thing where we're just out of juice and you can't get to anything? We rely so much on that. I mean, all the Teslas in the world or whatever, and all these EVs, totally stranded, right? We at least would have our gas-powered cars to get around. But 1994.
Yeah. So that's about when I got mine, when I was working with Bob. I was driving. I had to call a coach by 9:00. and it was pouring rain. I mean, hard rain. And there used to be a phone booth on Route 7 in like Wolf Trap, Vienna, Virginia, right? Like outside of Tyson's, headed toward Reston. And I had to stop at that phone booth one night because it was like 8:55 and I had to call this coach. And I'm standing there talking to this coach and my feet are submerged in water and it's pouring rain. And like I can barely hear him because of the rain beating on the phone booth. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try this cell phone thing. You know, I'm just going to go do it. And I think it's probably about 1994 because that's when I was, Bob, were putting out the newspapers.
Yeah, and we're you know we'll hit the 16th iteration of the iPhone in September. So it's just how fast things have evolved. I mean, you know, just you see all these different makes and models of all these phones and how things have evolved, and so you have lots of choices and lots of things to do with that. All right, Israel taking a lot of heat here for this latest attack in Gaza. It unfortunately killed, what was it 7 workers from the World Kitchen, World Central Kitchen convoy. Yeah, and so that's unfortunate. I don't know. Maybe you've seen more. Have you seen much in the way of a statement from Israel in terms of, you know, how that happened? I mean, I as I understand it, I mean, they were going along an approved path, but it was still a dangerous path that they were taking. You know, and so I don't know. I mean, is this you know, friendly fire really? I mean, something gone wrong here for Israel?
There's something gone wrong. I think IDF has said it was a mistake and apologize to the families and so forth. You know, war zones, stuff like that happens. It's, you know, obviously they're not meaning to kill it. The Israelis are the ones trying to get the aid distributed, right? What's going on is, you know, the reason that they were where they were is because they pulled up and the aid that had been delivered previously was not being distributed, right? That's what they're doing there. So people are calling and saying, we don't have any food. And they're like, we sent you a bunch of food, right? But the food is not making it to the hungry people. So, you know, that's a big part of what's going on there now.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, and food aid, this kind of thing that they're doing, you know, hats off to Jose Andres and this whole thing of trying to help out and get the worker, you know, get this aid in there, and get the food in there. But this is a problem under any war situation and things like this, is getting this kind of aid to the people who need it rather than having it siphoned off by the enemy, right? You know, stuff like this.
What's going on now?
Yeah, we see this worldwide. I mean, you can do food drops into Ethiopia and places like that in the past, and we've seen, you know, all massive amounts of aid going like that, and never getting to the people, you know, who continue to starve. And this is really unfortunate. And you know, one of the other, you know, obviously unfortunate parts of this is just that it you know, it increases the calls, you know, for, you know, this ceasefire.
Timing, I was about to say, timing couldn't have been any worse for Israel because they're already under a lot of heat. There was a UN motion calling for a ceasefire. The U.S. could have vetoed it and it would have not have passed, but instead the U.S. abstained. Right, the Biden administration has thrown in its lot with Hamas in Iran. That, you know, I would like to talk to a Democrat national security, foreign policy person and find out why, when they get into power, their first instinct is to appease Iran in every way. They do it. It's systematic. They can't deny they do it. I don't even think they're ashamed of it. Right. But I don't understand the underpinnings of it. Like, why do you go after them like a moth to the flame every time? I mean, they just abuse you. They attack you. They take your outstretched hand for peace as weakness, and they exploit you. And you keep doing it. You keep going after the same failed formula. And I don't understand. I would like someone to explain to me, what do we get out of that?
Yeah, no, I mean, and that whole thing about abstaining was so cowardly. I mean, are we standing with Israel or are we not? I mean, and you know, and who is what's the Biden administration trying to do here? Like, you know, yes, you are right. Why are we appeasing Iran? Why did we, you know, just basically stand down and let this go through? this was a shameful and cowardly act on the part of our administration, and voters should remember that in November as exactly how the administration, how Joe Biden did not stand behind Israel. Maybe they're going to try, they're trying to straddle this line, and
I don't think. I think this vote says they're not worried about straddling the line anymore. I think that they're against Israel. They want a ceasefire. They want, he's called for elections. He wants Bibi out of office. I mean, we're not their friend anymore right now. I mean, they can't. I guess Israel did its operation the other day and didn't tell them. Right? They didn't tell the U.S. And they're like, "Why are you keeping secrets from us?" It's like, because someone in your administration is telling Iran everything we tell you. So I don't know who it is or why they're doing it, but until you find that, you get rid of that leak. You can't be getting the secrets, right? You can't be passing the secrets to the enemy.
Yeah, well, and then we sent. I mean, the thing was too is that we did this, and then then Israel pulled back. They were going to send a couple people over here for some discussions or something like that, and they said we're not going to do that anymore. And the U.S. comes back and they say, well, we're disappointed. It's like, why would this surprise you? You just slapped them in the face. You just allowed this resolution to go through on a ceasefire, and you slapped them in the face, and you're saying you're disappointed that Israel is not going to send these officials, these diplomats over as they had planned before. What did you think was going to happen?
Yeah. Right. Our diplomacy has failed, right? I mean, they're, like you said, Blinken, is he the worst Secretary of State in modern times? Is he worse than Rex Tillerson? He's close. He's got to be close.
No, Rex.
Like, Blinken is not, Rex Tillerson was, the CEO of ExxonMobil. So he didn't come into this, I'm preparing for my career in diplomacy, But Blinken, he's been working for Biden for 25 years. He's been in this field. And he doesn't have any idea what he's doing. I mean, it's mistake after mistake after mistake.
Yeah, I mean, you can say that Tillerson. I mean, despite he had global experience dealing with people because of Exxon's presence, but it doesn't mean that you really can understand what it is.
It's a different skill set. There's some things you got to understand. People are always underestimating, what it takes to be a politician. That's like the people who think Michelle Obama is going to, suddenly jump on the ballot. And Michelle Obama herself keeps saying no, right? Because she does. That's she's fine being the president's wife, right? But being the president, right? That she's not ready for that. That's not who she is.
Yeah, I mean, and does Michelle Obama want to be attacked?
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying she may have the perfect answer to every problem the country has, but it's like, are you the kind of person who can put yourself in that fire and take that heat day after day after day? And, she's like, I won't know part of that. I see, I know better than anybody what that's all about. And heck no, So, and I respect her judgment on that.
Yeah. So Rex Tillerson should be thanking Biden for appointing Blinken. Makes him forget about his disastrous run there.
That's right.
So you never know. It's about all these odd things that happen along the way. Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's really unfortunate. I can see your point about how the administration basically is giving up on this. I mean, they really have decided that their course is leftward and not to support Israel. And on each and every we're 215 days away from election. So we're talking about seven months plus here. This is not good, for November. Biden has all these problems, and once again, another blockhead he cannot afford to lose is the Jewish voting bloc. And people who see this, people who have their relatives there, they have dual citizenship and things like this. This is not going over well at all. I mean, people who know Israel understand that two-state solution isn't going to work. That's not. But we continue to hear it from people, the liberal media, the left, and more people in the administration. No, reject this at every turn.
I would like to see some evidence that the Jewish is not going over well with the Jewish people, because I haven't seen it yet. I think the numbers are about what they were before. For some reason, they don't hold this against them. The people who are Democrats, they stay Democrats. There's a few movements.
Oh, I think they'll peel off a few at least.
Yeah. There's a few. I say it's not zero, right? But the other thing about the whole catastrophe is, people don't vote on these kind of issues. It's a big problem for the Democrats because you have, a really pro-Hamas terrorist wing in your party, right? That's 30 or 40% of your party at least, and they're not being, their message is not being effectively counterbalanced in the administration. To me, if you're Jewish and you're persuadable, this is when you will be persuaded to vote. If you'll ever vote right in your life, it would be this election. But a lot of them, they're not going to. So you don't really have. It's a big problem for Biden in terms of it makes him look dumb and ineffective on foreign policy, and it's a little bit of the case for Trump, but it's not a big part of the case for Trump, and you can't. It just doesn't work that way. He won't win the election on this.
Right. He won't win the election on this. Well, we'll see a lot more once, we get to about the last, 30 days or less.
Right. Thomas doesn't want a two-state solution. It's just American nonsense, right? Yeah. It's just BS that comes from us. It has no other source.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even if Hamas came out and they said they were for a two-state solution, we know they'd be lying through their teeth, because that would just be a way to bring Israel to the table and get some concessions. But Hamas is not going to stop doing what they're doing. So
they want from the river to the sea. They want to kill all the Jews. Right? They're not secret about that. They don't care if you know, right? So anytime you're going to negotiate with them about this, do it from the angle of they want to kill all the Jews, because that's the truth.
Yep. All right. So we'll move to a little more interesting domestic thing. We have an eclipse coming up here on April 8th, I believe it is. I guess it's next Monday. It's always interesting to me. I mean, I'm not an eclipse kind of person in general. I mean, but it's, I see that there are a lot of people that are going to be, driving or taking, flights or whatever, and going to try to find the best spot, the one that has the least cloud cover, so they can get the best spot to doing this. And lots of talk about what cameras to use. Don't forget to buy your glasses so you don't do permanent damage to your eyes.
All to go look at the thing you're not supposed to look at.
Yeah, right, exactly. Put a filter on your camera, because that's also, you need to do that, because if you're using like an iPhone or something like that, you ought to be putting a filter on there, because you can actually damage your camera without a filter. Apparently, the lens without that too. So it's interesting. I mean, it's one of those phenomena that we get that just attracts a huge number of people to go out there and spend all this time doing this. I'll be curious. I mean, I love seeing the pictures, but it's like, I don't know what it is that drives people to go pick up their families and go drive hours, if not days, to go sit around and watch this event that won't last terribly long, and then say, okay, now we go there and we'll upload our pictures, and that was it, and it won't happen again for another 20 plus years or whatever it is. So I don't know. I mean, what's your thought about this?
It's interesting. I mean, if it's one of those things, if it was around here, I would probably do it. I'd go check it out. Right. Right. So that was what I was about to say is, where we live, the DC weather stations record cloudy readings more than every other weather station in the country except one, State College, Pennsylvania. Right, we are the second most cloudy place in the country. Okay, so when you tell me that there's I think like the last 10 times there's been something like that to watch, it's been hopelessly cloudy and you couldn't see anything. So if we got a chance to see it, it would probably be cloudy anyway. But if it's I would go if the path wasn't so far away just to check it out. but it's, it's not the kind of thing I'm going to uproot my life or take leave from work to go do. Right.
Yeah. I'm not going to go out of my way. Basically I'm saying you come to me.
That's right. Bring your Eclipse over here.
Yeah.
Drop it off in Gaithersburg.
Yeah, bring it to me. Don't make me go to Austin, Texas, or whatever, or Idaho, or whatever this path. So it's it'll be interesting. It is something, and it'll get plenty of news coverage for that. But yeah, I mean, as Bob says, it's just like the X factor in all every time you do any of these things is the weather. Is how will the weather
That's
be?
Right. You go all that way, you make all these plans, and if it's cloudy, oh wow. Like, no.
Well, John, make sure you buy the special glasses then. And don't buy the Chinese made ones. Okay. Yeah. Lots of fake ones on Amazon. That's another problem. That's another problem too, is that they're, just like with so much in our lives, there's a lot of cheap imitation products and people say, oh, okay, that costs, $1 or whatever. I'm going to buy that. But it just could be, colored paper or something, just colored. And then you do this and then you damage your eyes. Right. So it's, take care. I mean, look, for those that do it, bravo to you, that's great. Love it. If you want to follow, if you're a science person like that, but make sure that everybody is well protected on this. You don't want to hurt. You don't want to have permanent damages, and so don't get cheapy on us and buy some unvetted Chinese things, some fake products, because as wonderful as Amazon can be and convenient can be for everybody, it is loaded with fake products and stuff that doesn't work. So beware of where you're getting your stuff. Maybe
one of the things you're losing when you shop like that, you get a lot of things. You get convenience and price a lot of times and so forth, but the retailer to stand behind the product.
Yeah. Actually, I just saw something interesting about Amazon. So Amazon, was really pioneered the walk out of a store. It basically scans in their Amazon Go stores. You walk in, it knows who you are. You signed into your Amazon account. And then as you place things in your shopping cart, it's basically it's basically adding up the price of the product, and you walk out, don't have any interaction with the cashier. Apparently there's stories that they're going to actually pull back on that technology like that. They're not going to use that as much. So I think they found that, it's good for some things, but maybe it doesn't work as well as they have. Maybe I haven't seen exact reasons. Maybe they've had a little bit of too much shrinkage for them that they would like to, that people complain about, inaccurate tallies, and Amazon can't do anything but give them their money back, even if they're lying through their teeth and stuff like that. I mean, there's the technology is neat, but there's always risks with some of the stuff that you come up with all of that. So Donald Trump, after all this sturm and drang and everything like this, has secured his bond from a businessman, right? That's how he did it.
Right, there's a guy in California who's he's tried to help Trump before, and Trump said no, and then he changed his mind and called the guy, and the guy said he would still do it. Guy and his wife, he made his money in high interest car loans to people who didn't have good credit. Which is a good, that's people, you laugh at that, but there's a lot of people, they say 20% of the country is unbanked, can't be served by a traditional bank, can't get a bank account, right? For various reasons, citizenship, don't have the $500 to start it, whatever, So, there's a lot of people looking for banking services, loans, low dollar loans, all kinds of little financing and so forth that they can't get. That's how the payday loan industry survives, right?
Right.
They can't. People say it's not a good deal. Well, it's not a bad deal if you pay them back quickly, right? If it really is a payday loan, it's Tuesday and my car breaks and you loan me money to fix it and I pay you back Friday. Those loans, they cost you a little bit, but they don't cost you a whole lot. And it's a good thing that's available to people.
Well, I mean, you have to have the understanding if you're taking one of those payday loans, is that while the interest rates on an annualized basis can be, astronomical. You just have to make
don't
sure
let it be annualized. Like,
yeah,
pay it off.
right. You pay it off as quickly as possible, because the longer you let that go, then it becomes a huge burden. And so the payday loan industry. I mean, I know the regulators have been reining those in over the years, and not, it's still lucrative, maybe not as lucrative as it was before, but they're still out there, and they serve a segment of the country. There are people, right? You're right. They're unbanked people. They're people who have never established credit. So therefore, without credit, you can't get a traditional loan. So you need somebody, if you're going to get a car, you want to buy a car, most people need a loan to get a car. There are not a lot of people that can just plunk down the cash and buy a car outright, particularly, the way car prices have gone up in the last 3 or 4 years. So, they're needed, but you have to be aware of what that's going to cost you. It's when you buy a house, you get a loan. You will pay back a lot more than the original cost of your house with the interest that accrues. But here's something. I don't think I think I was out. But you just you understand. I mean, this is the way the country works. It is based on a lot of these types of things. If you can't get a loan, or if you can't accumulate the cash, that's a good thing for those people. But when you can't be part of the banking system, when you can't establish credit, it's hard. I mean, when
there's all kinds of stuff you just can't do.
Right. I mean, when Spencer passed away, one of the things we ran into was with his widow, was just that everything basically was in his name. So their credit cards, stuff like that. So the credit history really was with him, right? So as she's been applying for jobs and things like that, she doesn't really have her own credit history. And so I said, let's just have it this way, where you become, for the time being, you become an authorized user on our accounts, and just, we'll just work out, you just, whenever you can charge whatever, and just make the payment directly, make it to us and whatever. And then once you do get a job and get established, you can then go get your own credit card. It may not have a very big limit, but then you can build your own credit history, which you will need. Right. I mean, I have several credit cards in my wife's name, so that at least she has credit. She has a credit history that won't leave her high and dry. Yeah, I mean, what Bob's right. Yeah, that's a good point from Bob too, right? Yeah. So these are important things to think about. But I can only imagine Letitia James. When he comes up with that money, and she's like, she's ready to pounce, right? Don't you think? Yeah. I want those properties. I'm gonna make this another headline. I'm gonna embarrass the heck out of Donald Trump, and he's able to post a bond.
Right, so. And now it's going to go to the judges already cut the fine in half, right?
Yeah.
And so now the principle is out there. Was this even a crime? And was it not excessive? And you have a judge in there. The conduct of the judge in this thing has been deplorable, right? I mean, think about it is like people get on to Trump about accusing these judges and stuff. They're guilty of the stuff. He's not wrong, right? It's like this one he has now, the judge in the Alvin Bragg case. The guy, tell me, like, but we ever get Biden on trial for all his taking money from China and all that kind of stuff? If the Democrats would go along with the judge and his entire family being Trump donors, right? No, they would not, right? And that would not be viewed as fair. But since they're doing it against Donald Trump, what are you talking about? You shut up, man. Gag order. No more gag order.
Yeah, look, I don't know what a reasonable, in a case like this, what a reasonable fine really would have been, true. Right? But the judge, I mean, by putting out this ridiculously, egregious amount, it only really has aided Trump, right? I mean, if it was, say it was 25 million or something like that, or whatever, right? That's a drop in the bucket for Trump, and so he would have a harder time saying that was some big, they were trying to get him or whatever. He has a little bit less of a case there. But you're putting up 450 million or whatever, and you put that out there. It's like, well, you have to be pretty stupid as a voter, or for a person to say, that's ridiculous. We have never seen this before in our lifetime. What kind of a case, justifies that?
Yeah, the bank's up there saying he paid us back. Nobody was defrauded. We didn't rely on his estimate.
Right.
I mean,
where's the crime? Where's the thing? And it's, to me, it's as if you're saying that Trump, is going to basically, we have to do this to ensure that we're going to get paid for whatever in case he decides to flee to Saudi Arabia or something like that, which would be ridiculous. Donald Trump he's an American. He's not going.
He's not fleeing anywhere.
Donald Trump loves America. If there's, he's built his business, he's built his life here. And despite the fact that he says a lot of crazy things, this is where he is. He is, he would not get the same level of attention going somewhere else.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's really, I mean, they wanted to, they were trying to put the screws to him to force him to sell properties or do things or turn them over. He's done that, so the reason for this case is largely now they just pricked that balloon, just deflated the whole thing.
The other thing is that they not only reduced the fine, but they said the thing about you can't run a business in New York for X amount of years. They threw that out too.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's
I'm sorry. I'm not. I will say. I think I've said before. I'm not going to say that Trump was maybe the most ethical business person in the world and a lot of these other things. But however, if there were lawsuits, they were settled, in the past about other things. He's shown that he knows he's built an incredible business. I mean, people still want the Trump brand. That still has a lot. There's still a lot of cachet to that, and so as a result, I mean, you want to try to destroy him, bankrupt him, destroy his business, and everything like that. And guess what, Judge? You failed. We talk about judicial overreach. This is it. This is maybe the most
and prosecutorial overreach. More importantly,
this is just ridiculous. This is just absolutely ridiculous as to how this goes on. And I think even down to the lowest common denominator, as Rush Limbaugh said, what was it? The low information voter.
Yeah.
Even they can understand that this is just this is out of outrageous, and that this is
it's done to get Trump. If you're fine with doing things to get Trump, then this doesn't bother you. But if you're not with doing things to get people, right? That's why, if you look at the polling, the polls are, they show things are close and so forth. And it's been a good week for Biden. He's tightened. The national polls have tightened a little bit. His approval ratings have gone up a little bit. But the statistic that is really hurting them is they're way behind on independent voters. So the people who sometimes vote for Republicans and sometimes vote for Democrats are about 17 points in Trump's favor right now. So, that's a big problem for them. And this kind of stuff doesn't help.
Yeah, I think that's true too. Right. I mean,
I mean, you can't do, and there's a lot of Wall Street types are making that point. Like Ackman has made that point. The guy on the Shark Tank.
Oh, Kevin O'Leary.
Kevin O'Leary made this point. So, there's a lot of people doing it. There's
Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful. That guy is a character. And all, but he knows how to run. He knows about business. I mean, this is another case too of where, why would you want to do business in New York when they pull something like this, right? When they've pulled something that is clearly well beyond reason. It's like, who else could they go after? Yeah, there's a lot of wealthy people who run businesses in New York, and you have to be thinking like, if you get on the wrong side of the attorney general or something like that they'll bring you in, haul you in, and just rake you over the Here's one.
God's rolling today. The other thing is to remember is like she got elected promising to do precisely this. She is keeping a campaign promise here. So, when you're talking about like, how do you overcome this? You got to remember, she went around saying, if you elect me, I will get Trump. I'm running for office to get Trump. So, you have to think about that too.
Yeah. Whether or not I have anything that I can actually get him on, I am going to go get him.
That's right. And I think that ought to be part of Trump's defense.
Yeah.
All these people told you not to prosecute this case. The bank says, he didn't do anything wrong to us and he paid back the loan and we'd be happy to loan him more money, right? But you're pursuing the guy because of politics. There's no other reason.
Yeah.
It's the same reason. It's the same argument they get caught in, like Jack Smith's all mad at Cannon again because it's like, oh, he's just trying to delay the case, right? Delay. It's like, what's the hurry? Most of these cases take much longer than y'all are trying to take, right? If it's not political, then what does it matter if it goes past the election, right? It's because it is political. It's like you want this result before the election, right? Because that was the whole point of the case.
Right. And and if these things get delayed and they're pushed past the election, then there's nothing there for them. I mean, they lose the impetus for them to actually do anything because it's like they wanted the impact on the election. If there's no impact on the election, then that just shows that totally takes away their reasoning for this. And and if you're Alvin Bragg and Letitia James, you have to look at this already and say, what have we gotten out of this? We've actually we've helped Donald Trump rise to the top of the Republican Party for the nomination. We have the two of them have basically become the enablers, which is not what they wanted to do at all. Right. And they managed to do that. So I guess in a backhanded way, we should be thankful for what they've done because they have helped, put Donald Trump back, into this race.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Mark Cuban's also been an interesting debate on Twitter over DEI. He says it makes everything better, and he's in a lot of trouble for it. He gets pounded pretty good. Yeah,
DEI. I mean, that's a whole other ball of wax here, kind of thing like that. We've seen lots. There's been in red states. There's been lots of legislation to turn back on DEI in schools and things like that and higher education. Not all of it has made it through, but a majority of it has. Corporations are turning away from it. The DEI ESG thing has really kind of fallen flat. I mean, BlackRock, which had been made a big push for a lot of this stuff, is pulled back, and they realize it's like this is not going well. I mean, what was it? The SEC wanted all these climate change things into to proxy material, and they had to dial it back a little bit because corporations started saying, no, we don't want to do that. There's been so much garbage, whether or not it's DEI or ESG, and climate change and climate risk. All of these things are kind of all coming and say, you've got to do this, you've got to do this, you've got to do this, and then the realization is that this is not a good idea, and it doesn't help us at all. And yeah. Oh, why not?
I mean, it has. The thing about it is like you raise a good point though. It has not helped, right? No. You've hired a bunch of people in a budget constrained. You're getting less money from the state. Enrollment's down in these big colleges, right? I mean, like 2 years ago, Missouri, they lost the size of their freshman class decreased by 75% in 1 year, right? It was 25% of the level the next year. So, I mean, they're in a money crisis in college, all over colleges. And so you got 300 or 400 people there whose job is to make sure, the racial spoils are delivered. Like, you don't need that. That's something that you must do without. So I'm thinking, the colleges are secretly not upset that this is coming off their ledger.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of this nonsense. I mean, even CRT. I just saw this thing about a professor from Brown and one from Princeton, and they received $1 million from the Mellon Foundation to this will be applied to a multi-year fellowship starting in 2025 for their Race to the Classics, I think it's called anyway, program fellowship. And what it is basically studying, applying critical race theory to the classics. And it's like, what are we doing? It's like, it's unbelievable, and I don't know. I mean,
it's private money, they can study whatever they want.
Yeah, no, it is, but I mean, it's just such nonsense about what they're doing, and just more indoctrination. I mean, I feel for Bob. I mean, he's just, how do you deal with all of the stuff that keeps coming down the pike in academia? It can't be easy.
Yeah.
And I got a couple more here. Wait a minute.
Yeah, that's right. Disney's lost a bunch of money over being woke, both in Disney and like ESPN too. Yeah, that's right. And that's where the money's going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think one of the things you're having is people are not thinking about this, but Biden has ruined the government-backed student loans. Like, how do you do that if everybody you're now going to give a loan to is going to expect to be forgiven, right? Because you've said, hey, we're going to forgive you. We're going to come up with some excuse and work around or whatever, and you will be forgiven of this loan. So when people take the loans out, they're going to take them out with the expectation they will not have to pay them back. So we're either going to have to say, okay, it's like a PPP loan. If you graduate, you serve in the military or serve a community interest or whatever, we'll forgive it or whatever. They want to try to do that, you're going to need congressional approval of that. That's going to cost a lot of money. So you're going to have to get government out of the student loan business now. So when you do that, what happens? The price of college has to come way down because your customers will not be able to afford it at the current prices. So, then what happens? You have to cut a lot of stuff. You're going to see colleges get down to the basic elements. You're teaching, trades, people how to go out and make a living, and the basket weaving and gender studies and queer literature and all that are going to take a back seat because you're not going to, the people going to college are going to have some expectations of gaining wealth out of it. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, tenure it protects professors on all sides, right? I mean, when you get tenure, you can go ahead and complain, and
it's the only way there's any conservatives like Bob left in academia.
Yeah, but I mean, that was an argument that was made for years. It's just that there were a lot of conservative professors. I mean, they were denied tenure, and that was hard. I mean, liberal left-wing professors would get tenure, but colleagues that were conservative were equally qualified were denied tenure, effectively ending their careers at those particular institutions. So this is, that was really hard on a lot of people, for that. But student loans. Look, I mean, the program is a mess to me. I mean, Biden has not helped this thing at all. I mean, he keeps carving out exceptions and just forgiving this and that, and saying it's not costing you anything. Well, it's costing everybody something, right? Because who's paying for it? You and me and everybody else is paying for it, in the end. So this is not a free program that we forgive the loan and no one's paying for this. But to me, I always felt just that it's the student loan program has always lent itself to this inflated tuition, right? I mean, the universities, knowing that this is out there, don't really
charge a lot more.
Yeah, they don't charge an honest tuition and everything like that. It's like contrast that. I mean, I know that I think the tuition, for semester at BYU right now is about $6,500. So that's a pretty darn reasonable tuition, right? Instead of reading these $50,000 a year tuitions in the Ivy League schools and whatnot. So you'd spend $13,000 on tuition if you were at BYU. It's a private school, but that tuition is it doesn't rely on student loans. If you've got FAFSA or something like that, that's fine. But it's that tuition is actually bought down, subsidized by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Right. The members who tithe to the church are in effect, they are basically subsidizing that part. That's another part of the operation that they subsidize. So while the education may actually cost a lot more to educate a student, they try to keep the cost of education down. I see that as being a lot better than what most colleges and universities do, public, which is that everything's inflated. They're looking, because you're going to be able to get $20,000 of student loans this year. So we'll do that, we'll throw in we'll throw in a scholarship, and boom, 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 boom. You get the FAFSA, you get this or whatever, and then next thing you know, you're fine. You can cover the tuition. But it wasn't, it's like the manufacturer suggested retail price of a product. Right. It's not. I mean, it's not a realistic number.
Yeah, that's right.
So.
Yeah.
I gotta catch up to all these here.
Yeah, you can't. Right. That's right. So, I'm sure there'll be a private student loan industry, but it'll be normal credit, limits on credit.
Well, I mean,
football scholarship.
Yeah. I mean, the government basically didn't under the Obama administration, didn't they basically take it away from the private lenders? I mean, Sallie Mae had done a lot of they had done a lot of the student loan program, and I think they're mostly out of that now because the government took it over. So the government, once again, another thing where government's basically, we can do this better, so we're going to take it over and push these other guys out of business, right? And and what do we have now? It's just a mess.
Right. That's right.
And all this forgiveness stuff, and all when they put it up and they said we're going to for the pandemic, you've got this abeyance, you don't have delay. When people's loans restarted, this has been a huge mess.
Yeah.
And this is all based on administration. All right, we wound up doing a lot of stuff we didn't expect to do, but we're getting to the point where we need to wrap it up. So Brian, let's wrap this up.
Let's see. I'm looking on your thing. Okay. LSU is in trouble for not being on the floor for the national anthem. Okay. LSU has not been on the floor for the national anthem for a single game this year. They had no idea they were supposed to be on the floor for the national anthem. All right. The other game, the game that was played right after them, UConn and USC, neither team was on the floor for the national anthem. Army's teams are not on the floor for the national anthem. Okay. You can say maybe they should be. The governor of Louisiana now wants to, order the colleges to order their teams to be on the floor for the national anthem, right? Because we're Republicans and we don't meddle in like little details of this stuff, right? And if he does that and he has the law on his side to make that happen, okay, good for them, right? But no one told them to be on the floor for the national anthem, right? So the condemnation is, unfair and untoward, and it's there's a get Kimmy movement out there right now. There's been a bunch of hit pieces and this and that and the other, and I think this is just part of this. And if you want to know, well, so why do we have a get Kimmy movement out there? It's like Kimmy does not salute at all the leftist flags, right? She just doesn't. She does her own thing, and they hate people they can't control, and that's what happened there. And she didn't do anything wrong.
I knew you'd comment on that.
I mean, I've people have been beating on me about this for 3 days, and enough, right? Learn the facts.
All right. Well, that's good. We'll end there. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed it. and please come back again. Please, as always, stay safe and stay well. Remember, we live in the greatest country in the world. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. And as always, God bless America. And that we will see you again next week. And enjoy your week. Hopefully the weather will get better. See you then.